this week's blog. I'm Leanne from Bodyshot Performance. Before I start this week's blog, I want to talk to you briefly about our latest podcast episode with Jane Cox. We have a fascinating discussion over around 30 minutes, and we talk all about biophilia, which is bringing nature indoors, and about Jane's concept of free-range people, which I really love, and that centres around the fact that we now have regulations for battery hens, but we don't have the same regulations for people. So we need to address the way that people come to work and the environment they're surrounded in and things connected with that. So it's a really great episode. So I'd encourage you to go onto iTunes, look for our podcast, Remove the Guesswork, Health, Fitness and Wellbeing for Busy Professionals, and check out that episode. So to this week's blog, 7 ways to improve your digestion and therefore your health. So digestive health, I think, is something that gets overlooked a lot. But it's a really interesting topic, and it's connected as well with the gut and the microbiome, or microbiota as it's actually called. And there's a lot of science now and a lot of research going into looking at the effects of gut health on things like mental health, the immune system, and a number of illnesses that we have now and consider to be relatively prevalent, like autism, for example. But digestion really comes down to a number of things, and it starts as soon as we smell food. So what happens if you've ever walked past a bakery, for example, then you'll find that you're salivating at the very prospect of the food and the smells that are emanating from those places. And that's the start of the process. And whilst our mouth is salivating, we've also got hormones and gut bacteria in our gut that are preparing ourselves for food. We might further down the chain be preparing ourselves as well for the next meal coming in. But hormones are really important to this whole process as well, and it's important to appreciate that. So some of the hormones included will be serotonin, and it's believed that the majority, up to 90% of the serotonin we have in the body is actually in the gut, the remainder of it being in the brain. And that can explain as well why eating food is pleasurable, for example, and maybe that's where the term comfort food comes from. We eat, it triggers the serotonin, makes us feel good, and that can set off a psychological chain of eating, feeling good, even when we're full and we know we should stop. And on that note, there are 2 other important hormones to mention. Leptin, which signals to the brain that we're full, so that's the satiety hormone, and ghrelin, which is the hormone that signals to the brain that we are hungry. So we've got those 3 primary hormones, but that's by no means exhaustive. And the gut itself, well, some believe that's actually the second brain in the body. In a podcast episode coming up with Dr. Becca Moore, she challenges me on that and said actually there's some that would tell you that's the first brain. So actually the gut is communicating with the brain rather than the brain communicating with the gut. It's a really fascinating subject, and we're doing quite a lot of work now to research that and bring that into our 6 signals methodology. So what are the 7 ways then that you can improve your digestion? Well, the first one is to eat mindfully. So pause whilst you're eating. Think, what am I eating? Why am I eating this? You know, traditionally, religious families would have said grace. And that, in a sense, is being mindful and appreciative and grateful for the food in front of you. Eating mindfully, appreciating how much you're consuming and whether you're rushing it or whether you really need it is super important. Posture. Sitting upright so that the food can go down smoothly, not hunched over a meal or hunched in front of the television or eating as you walk, but really think about your posture, preparing the body for the food. Smells, we mentioned before. Part of the cooking process, if you cook from fresh, which of course we're advocating, is enjoying the preparation, the smell, the taste, the texture of food. All of that sort of helps prepare the mind and body for what's coming in and paves the way, if you like, for good digestion. Number 4 is provenance. Really think about the provenance of your food, and that goes all the way back to before you've purchased it. Is that meat locally sourced? Is it organic? Has that animal had a good time before it was slaughtered? And even if you're not so interested in the ethics behind animal rearing, particularly for meat consumption, what you don't want to be eating is meat or fish that's full of cortisol because it was stressed when it was killed. So it's very important both from an ethical point of view and also from a health standpoint. So the provenance of food, think about that. Where have those vegetables come from? Was it healthy soil? Really, really important for health. Number 5 is to relax. So prepare the body for the food that's coming in. The digestive system is part of the parasympathetic dominant system. So I've talked before about the autonomic nervous system having 2 branches, sympathetic, which is fight flight, parasympathetic, which is rest digest. And the parasympathetic is the digestive functions. So the body won't digest well if it's stressed. So trying to relax before food will help you to absorb those nutrients better. Number 6 is make it social. You know, in the past we used to eat meals very much as a family or as a group. We used to break bread together in some denominations. We need to get back to that. Food shouldn't be consumed as fuel and eaten on the run, but rather make it social, make it a cultural thing. Really sit around and share with your family and friends what's been going on for you during that day over a meal. We still do that, but I think less so in some households. So it'd be great to get that back. And the last one is breathing. I often talk about that in many different contexts. But deep breathing will help prepare the body, it will help relax the body, to come back to point number 5, and make that the whole environment within the body much better for digestion. So there are 7 points. Eat mindfully, have good posture, appreciate the smells, think about the provenance of your food, relax the body before you eat, make it social, and practice deep breathing to make sure that your parasympathetic is dominant rather than sympathetic. And that way you'll get the most out of digestion and from your nutrient absorption. So that's it for this week. As ever, if you've got questions, fire them off to us. I'm Leanne at bodyshotperformance.com. Don't forget to jump on the podcast where you'll get, we've got about 13, 14 episodes up now of really great content. We'd love your feedback on that. And if you're interested in other blogs, jump on to www.bodyshotperformance.com/resources and you can access our entire 2-year blog archive. Have a great week.